Hi and welcome to my channel. My name is Kim and thank you so much for joining me for Vlogmas Day 9. So I am a reader and a knitter, and each day for Vlogmas I am reading from the 2023 Hingston and Olsen Advent Calendar, as well as I am unwrapping a skein of Polka Dot Creek's blanket yarn advent and sharing my knitting progress with you. So I'm going to get to the unveiling. So today's short story will be Cosmic Cul-de-sac by Jade Song. So that name seems very familiar to me. So Jade Song is an art director, artist, and author of Chlorine. Okay, a debut novel about a swimmer turned mermaid. Lauded by Publishers Weekly as visionary and disturbing. I have this book on my radar. I've seen a couple of reviews about it, and it seems to be a love it or hate it type of book, but that's just what I've heard. So I can't wait to read Jade for the first time. Jade's writing has also been published in Teen Vogue, the Missouri Review, and various literary magazines. And this is from 2023, so very, very intriguing. An author on my radar. And this is day 9, and hopefully Wednesday won't be here to steal it away this time. So, a sort of rosy color. It's called Valentine. So very sweet. I'm not the biggest fan of pink, so I may include this in my knitting blanket. I may not. I think I probably will because it'll be a nice warm touch. All right, so there's our short story. There's our yarn. I am going to get reading and knitting, and I will report back to you with my thoughts. So I absolutely adored this story. This is very uplifting and very inspiring, and I really, really, after the past 2 days, needed something that was a little bit more lighthearted. Not that I'm not enjoying the Advent calendar. I love this Advent calendar. I loved it last year as well. It was one of my favorite things. But I needed something light. All right, so Cosmic Cul-de-sac, it is set in America, and interesting enough, it's told in second person. Now, second person is often tough to pull off well, so good for Jade for taking that on. And to be honest, she does this very well. Now, it's hard because second person, because the narrator is always saying you, it can come off as either accusatory or confessional, and this is definitely confessional. The structure is told in short, separate sections. Now, the main character is a wife who's moved into a residential area in an American suburb. Her husband is an astronaut and seems to be located all over China and Asia. She is all alone and she's very lonely and she feels isolated. Now, it seems to be a very generic, and she even calls the suburb uninspiring. And her neighbors on both sides are called Bob, and the other wives are Lucy's. I think there might even be a Carol's. But everything is really, really generic, and the Bobs are obsessed with mowing their lawns. There is always in the first part of this story that hum and roar and buzzing of the lawnmowers going off during all the days. Now, the narrator feels very, very trapped and lonely, and she wants to go back to China. And there is such a lack of communication with the husband. And even when he calls to communicate with her, they can't communicate because there's too much static from his end, and the lawnmowers are making too much noise for her to communicate, and he just gets frustrated and hangs up. So he is a very, very absent husband. Now, the narrator goes for walks every day for exercise, and eventually the buzzing of the lawnmowers drives her to the point to ask her neighbors to stop intruding on her senses, and she can't even get their attention. Now, the beautiful part of, and I won't give away any spoilers this time, but the beautiful part and inspiring is that she gets to the point where she can't take it anymore. So in the middle of the night, she sneaks out into her neighborhood and starts vandalizing every single lawnmower so that they don't work. She goes out every night and she goes for her own street, and then she goes for the street down the road, and then the next one, and so on and so on and so on. So she becomes a bit of a vigilante. And what I loved about this is how much this woman's actions changes the community. So because the lawnmowers can't cut the lawn and everybody can't impede on nature, nature starts to take over. And the lack of lawnmowers, because of this one woman, begins to transform everything. Small gardens start popping up. Small forests become, there's fruit growing. Instead of the kids playing basketball, they're picking raspberries and strawberries. And it becomes a woodland community. Even the homes themselves go from being generic homes to being cabins. Now, there is an absolutely stunning ending. I actually read it a couple of times because it was so beautifully written. This is definitely a story of empowerment and transformation. And there is a lovely tie-in for the title, Cosmic Cul-de-sac, which I won't give away. And Jade Song, I'm definitely going to try to get a hold of her new book, Chlorine, in the future. So thank you to Hingston and Olsen, and thank you to Jade Song. So if you're so inclined, please like and subscribe. It really helps out my channel, and comment in the description box below. Have you ever heard of Jade Song? Have you read Chlorine? What did you think of it? As well, I have started a Patreon account, so if you want to put in a tip in the tip jar, that would be great. But if that's outside of your scope, no pressure. I will continue to make daily vlogs about my reading and knitting up to December 25th. So I will leave you with some of my favorite things, and thanks again for joining me. See you soon.